Okay, I am thinking maybe we'll get started now, and if anyone joins, they can kind of catch up as we're going along. So I hope everyone can hear me okay. I think my audio is all working. So hi, everyone. My name is Richard. I'm the director of Hackathons here at Devpost. So I've been with Devpost for actually about 6.5 years. I used to be a Devpost user myself when I was a hackathon organizer. And that's when I first got exposed to the company and then moved up to New York City to work for them. And since then, I've worked with hackathon organizers all around the world, a lot of people like yourselves who are using Devpost at their events or considering using Devpost at their events. And I think that a lot of my job at Devpost is to both kind of help people understand the value that a product like ours has for their hackathon, and then make sure that you're able to get the maximum benefit from it when you do use the product. So that's always been something very exciting. I also as well get to feedback a lot of information to our product team to make sure that we're evolving the product and building the thing that you need for your hackathons. Which is my way of encouraging you to please always give us feedback. Anything that, if you've used Devpost before, and if there's anything we can do to improve the product for you, if there are any questions you have about it, if there is a problem that you are having with it when you're trying to use it, please absolutely do tell us, whether it's in the Discord here or whether it's reaching out to us directly at any point. We always love to get that feedback. It's so critical to the work that we're able to do. So we love to do that. I wanted to start today actually with a little bit of an overview of Devpost, just to give you a little background on the company. I feel like sometimes people know us from being used at hackathons, but they don't know a ton about Devpost. So I think it's always fun to kind of fill in the blanks there. We're a New York-based startup. We were founded in 2009, and we exist to inspire software developers to build projects. We like to do that by running hackathons. We work with everyone from kind of high school students through to some of the world's biggest technology firms, but always designed to use hackathons to get more people building around with different products around different issue areas. We love supporting collegiate hackathon organizers. We've always made our product available for free for in-person events, but now, of course, with the coronavirus, we've also extended that to make our product available for free for anyone who's running virtual hackathons, if they're a college organizer or it's a kind of college event. So we know that it's difficult times right now, and it's just a small thing that we can do as a company to continue to support the important work. A lot of people actually ask me, how does Devpost make money? So I think that's kind of a good thing to always clarify. We make money by companies using us to run virtual hackathons. So when you see like an Amazon or a Facebook hackathon running on Devpost, that's how we all get paid. That's how we're able to kind of fund the product that you're able to use, the same platform that's used by people like Y Combinator, because other companies are kind of funding it to make it available for you in that sense. So we're really proud to do that. So today, what we're going to cover in our 45 minutes together, I'm going to go quickly give you a quick refresher and overview of the site. I want to focus a little bit on some of the features that we think are particularly more helpful with virtual hackathons. I'm also going to show you some new stuff that you may have not seen before in Devpost. These are new things around team building, our kind of integration of things like Discord and Slack for community chat, our new to-dos functionality. I also, as well, I'm going to show you some features that we already had in the product, but we're really kind of seeing people use more heavily with virtual hackathons. So definitely want to make sure I highlight this for you. And as well, we're going to have a little refresher and go through what it looks like to make a project on Devpost for one of your hackers. I'm also, as well, going to try and leave a ton of time for questions. So I probably won't see your questions while I'm showing you the product, because I'm going to kind of change tabs here on my computer. But please do throw them in the second chat, and hi to everyone who's already in there. If you throw those questions in there, I'll leave tons of time so that we can kind of dig through those questions together and look to answer them for you. So without further ado, let's get started. I am going to share my screen here. Give me a second to make sure this is working. Is that okay? Cool. Looks like you are seeing my screen. Perfect. Great. Okay. Sounds like you can see it. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so here is an example Devpost site. So one of the things that I want to make clear is we are running this on our staging server. This is our developers test environment. So if something breaks, it's not production, and don't worry about it. Everything will be fine when it comes to your hackathon. Every site that runs, every hackathon that runs on Devpost has its own URL for that event. You'll be familiar with this. The staging thing is just because it's our dev server here. So we always have a URL for that event. You can see here I've set up this one for Hackcon. A few different areas that we're looking at here on the Hackathon homepage you may have not seen before. You're obviously familiar, I imagine, with this main content section. That's where you can put the bulk of the information about your hackathon. We also as well have a prizes section. We moved that from the right-hand side, if you're familiar with our old layer, into the middle area. Especially with the kind of hackathons you're organizing, often there are lots of different prizes. So we wanted to make them more prominent. We also introduced Devpost achievements on the site. These are individual developers' specific personal achievements. And what that means is when a hacker sees your hackathon site on Devpost, they see the achievements that they would get by taking part in a hackathon. So all designed from our side to continue to incentivize more people to take part in more hackathons and build more projects. You can kind of see that here. This being the staging server, I would get level 12 of hackathon winner. I have never won actually 12 hackathons, so that's maybe I just win the ones that developers test. So that's kind of funny to me. The eligibility criteria, this is where you can kind of make clear who the hackathon is eligible for. We also as well love to showcase the judges. Getting their projects exposed to judges is like a big motivator for many of the people that are taking part in a hackathon. So love to display that. And then obviously the judging criteria. We've also introduced themes on Devpost. So a theme is something like blockchain, maybe it's machine learning, AI. I'm going to show you how you set those. And these are actually community sections on Devpost where developers can find all of the different blockchain related hackathons, the top builders in that area, recent projects. So again, just really trying to showcase what this community is building. Moving across to here, this is always our call to action box. So sometimes it shows the address if it's an in-person hackathon. With this being a virtual event, we actually just see really specific information about that hackathon. We can see the deadline. I've set the deadline to tomorrow. We can add that to our calendar as well if we'd like to. And here, we actually now see a new section, which is our to-dos section. So I can see here that I can toggle these things on and off. And I'm going to show you how to set these up. We built this area of the site because we wanted Devpost to be a place where you could remind your hackers to really carry out specific things that you need them to do when you're taking part in an event. Maybe that's joining your Discord, maybe that's signing a photo release. Whatever it is, you can establish these kind of reminders here on Devpost. I can dismiss them, I can complete them, and we label them correctly, whether it's kind of like joining the Discord or something. I'm going to show you how all those things are set up in a moment. Moving across here, this is the participants tab. And this is an area of the site where we've actually invested quite heavily recently. With everybody moving to virtual hackathons, we really needed to find a better way of supporting people to find teammates. The participants tab has always been a place where we've exposed the people that are taking part in the hackathon. But what we've really done here is improve the filtering and improve the connection between people to make that process easier. When I look at the list of participants in any hackathon, I can filter to see people who are working on their own, people who are looking for teammates, different specialities that people have, and also even just particular skills that people may have. So I can really look through and see who's taking part in this hackathon. This is me here. I'm registered for this hackathon. I can obviously update my Devpost portfolio, but I have here all the different skills that I work on, the different interests that I'm interested in, and of course here as well my team settings. So I can say I'm working alone. I can also say I'm looking for teammates, and I have a team. If I'm looking for teammates as well, I can even add a specific introduction here. So I can see anything that I'm interested in working on, and actually put all that information in here so that people know what I might be interested in doing if we were to team up. So if I save that, we can see that here, and that would be displayed. Looking down on this project area here now, we see that we have Brandon, who's actually Devpost's founder, is registered for our test hackathon. And if I was looking at this photo, Brandon's skills might be compatible with mine. Previously, we would have to email each other, but now we actually have chat built into the Devpost site. So I can turn on my desktop notifications. I can see if Brandon's online or offline at that time, and I can actually send Brandon a message via the site and communicate directly with him. I can have multiple different threads open with many different people as I'm kind of chatting to others to team up, and all just designed to make it really, really easy for people to connect. Obviously, as well, you can block incoming messages. You can block people from contacting you. We take user safety extremely seriously on Devpost, so we have a lot of safety features like being able to hide your profile, being able to make your kind of Devpost account invisible, being able to block certain people from seeing you. User safety is super important to us, so we're able to really make sure that everyone is comfortable and has a good experience on the site. So obviously we can see chat here. And we're really excited about this feature. We think it's going to make a big impact to people's hackathons by making it a lot easier for people to connect and be able to find people to work with, which we think will result in more people being able to achieve more and build better projects. This is kind of rolling out at the moment. It's currently on a few hackathons for testing purposes, but now we're gradually rolling that out across more and more hackathons across the Devpost community. If you would like it enabled for your hackathon and it's not currently enabled, please just let us know and we'll make sure that gets turned on for you. Moving across here, obviously we have the rules tab. The rules, it's important to have your code of conduct, important to have rules. It's a really simple part of the site though. You just paste the rules in. And again, I'll show you how all of that works in the back end. The submissions gallery, we'll come back to this in a moment, but the submissions gallery is where all of the projects submitted by developers at your hackathon get displayed. Updates is a really interesting area of our functionality that I think is kind of underutilized. Updates are like a blog post for your hackathon. And today I'm going to talk to you about one specific kind of update called a starter kit. So often when someone starts out your hackathon, you might have a lot of specific information that you need them to be aware of. Perhaps that's kind of when the deadline is, perhaps that's a link to sponsored resources, perhaps it's a list of the prizes available. There's a lot of kind of specific things that you might need people to know. You can post a starter kit update on your Devpost site. And like any other update, it will be posted on your Devpost and also emailed out to everyone who's registered on Devpost. However, the important difference in the starter kit is the starter kit email will go out to anyone as soon as they register on the site. So if you have really specific information that you want to make sure you've got to everyone, set it up as a starter kit. It goes on the site and everyone will receive it when they register. I'm going to show you how to do that in our back end, but it's a very simple way of making that work. We also have discussion forums. They work exactly as you would expect them to. It's different threaded forums. Again, pretty popular with virtual hackathons. They're a good place where people can ask you questions. And then resources, this is a new area for us, but this is where you can now add custom tabs to your Devpost site. So if you've used Devpost before and you're familiar with us, you'll see all of these tabs are pretty standard. Resources and other such tabs, I'm going to show you how to do those. You can now add extra pages to your Devpost to kind of round out all the information. So let's take a quick look in the back end, and I'll show you how some of this new functionality kind of comes together and how you're able to create it. So this is the manager area that I'm sure many of you are familiar with. You can see that whether you're setting up a virtual hackathon or an in-person hackathon, it's pretty much exactly the same. We hide some features and enable others, but there's no real big functional difference here. Obviously, as you start to establish the hackathon, you'll see all these different areas need to be completed. It's how we help you build a site that's correct and functional for your participants. Obviously, the name, the URL. The hackathon manager email is pretty important. So this is where on the hackathon site, we have this questions email, the hackathon manager. So if you have like a generic email address for your hackathon, this is definitely the right place to put it so that anyone who's taking part in your event can reach you if need be. You can also set the different themes for your event here. And if it's a college or university, you can actually tag which college or university it is, and of course add the time zone for your event. One thing that I did want to make sure that we point out on here is the design settings. Design settings is something that sometimes confuses people a little bit. So obviously you have the thumbnail image, but the header image on Devpost is actually made up of two different elements. So if you look at this one here, what we're actually doing is we're layering the Hackathon logo on top of a background image. The reason we do that is we want to make sure that we're able to make the site scale nicely, so that when someone views it on any kind of different device, obviously your hackathon is really well presented. So a lot of times people will try and upload the hackathon header logo as part of the background. It's really best to separate the two, as we've done here. So you can see this is the Hackcon logo on a transparent background. And then we also have the Hackathon header image that goes underneath it. So just be aware of that. It shouldn't be too bad for your designers to be able to give you what's necessary here. But if you do this, this will really help make sure that you have a great looking Devpost site, which is obviously awesome for when you're sending it around sponsors, etc., or when a sponsor is sending it around within their company to show off what was built at the hackathon. Really just helps increase the way everything looks and make sure that your brand is properly represented. Moving through here, obviously the hackathon site area is where all the main content goes. So you can see here we have the kind of main description of the hackathon site here. You can also embed a video. We're seeing a lot of people kind of YouTube streaming, like opening ceremonies. You can actually add that video here, and we will embed the video right on the homepage of your Devpost site. So a good thing to be aware of there. You can obviously post your rules there, your eligibility, submission requirements. And of course, you can also give your sponsors some love here. So we have a sponsor logo section. It's very simple. I can give a sponsor name, a URL, and choose a logo. All the sponsor logos are actually compiled here under this gray box. You can even put kind of section breaks and headers and dividing lines between them if you have different tiers. So just a kind of good way to make sure that your sponsors are always represented on everything that you're doing. Moving across to our next heading, we have the pages area. Pages are where you can set up those additional tabs on your Devpost site. So you can see here that we can kind of, we've added a resource tab. I can set the specific URL that I would like that tab to be, a title. I can obviously insert the body copy here, and I can even hide it from the navigation if I need to for some reason. So sometimes if you have a lot of very specific things, you might just build that page and then link off to it from somewhere else. Most of the time, you're probably going to want to display it in the navigation, but you do have the option here. So it's been a long requested feature. We're really happy to ship this. So now you can always add extra tabs to your hackathon to make sure you've got kind of full coverage of all the information people might need. Okay, moving across here, this is our to-dos area. So as I showed you on the new Hackathon homepage, we now have this box where we can add a Discord, or we can add other such to-dos for people to complete. So when we have here the additional actions, we can, in addition to the community chat, we can have 3 additional steps that we need people to do. So you select an action. So it could be here. We can say, read. We can say, read the event details. And then we can put in a URL to where we can find them. So let's just put in that. So the site will accept that nicely. If we save that now, and then we go back to refresh the homepage, we will now see another actual to-do item completed on here. So again, just a good way to make sure that you're reminding hackers exactly kind of all the steps they need to do. You obviously don't need to do reminders about submissions. The site handles that. But in terms of any other specific things you need people to do, it's a good idea to add them. And obviously as well, especially with virtual events now, we're pretty much always seeing a Discord or a Slack involved, including with the hackathons that we run ourselves on the product. So I definitely encourage you to actually kind of take a look at adding one of those in there. The starter kit section here, this is the starter kit update that I had mentioned earlier. So this is where we can set up that message. You'll see that it has a reply to address that is the Hackathon Manager contact email from the Essentials tab. But essentially, yeah, I set this up just like a blog post. All of that can be in here. Once I've set it up, I can send myself a test to make sure everything looks great. But then once it's saved, it'll be sent out every time to make sure that everyone who's kind of registered for the hackathon gets the information. Submissions function pretty much the same as you would always expect. We had the start day and time for the event, the hacker's deadline. You can obviously do things that are particularly important to virtual hackathons. For example, requiring videos. We certainly with virtual hackathons that we're running and most other virtual hackathons, we make people make short demo videos of their projects. You can actually make that setting required by just ticking on require videos here. If you don't, it'll still be on the submission form. It's just it'll be an optional field. And obviously as well, I'm sure as many of you know, you can add custom questions to your submissions for your, if you're running a global hackathon, you might want to introduce a country select, for example. If you do a kind of country select, we'll make sure that all of that information goes on here. So we can do that. We can also make the question required there. So yeah, we'll have all of that pre-populated for you. So all of those areas are there and available, so you can always add like extra fields to the form if you need them. Public voting is also a very interesting piece of functionality that I think might be helpful for many virtual hackathons. So public voting is the idea that you give out a crowd favorite award. So there you invite people to like share the projects with their social networks and get their friends and their families to vote for their favorite projects. We don't usually recommend using this to give away a massive prize, but it's a really good way to bring more attention to the incredible work that's being done at the hackathon. Obviously, if we were doing an in-person event, we'd encourage hackers to go around at the expo and like chat to other people and see what other people built. But when we're doing virtual hackathons, public voting is a great way of doing that. It's +1 style voting, which means that you can vote for as many projects as you like, but you can only vote for each project once. And every time you must be registered and signed into Devpost. So of course, if you want to do it, just turn it on, do enable public voting. And all you need to do is set a start time that's after the end of the submission deadline, and then put an end time for the public voting. We recommend like a few hours, and it really just helps bring more attention to what was created at your hackathon. Judging was something that I wanted to make sure we covered as well. By default, most people are going to use offline judging, but we also as well have a full online judging engine. If you switch to online judging, all you need to do is set a start time and an end time. Again, the start time has to be after the end of the submission deadline. And then you will need to add email addresses for your judges. What will happen then is when you start the judging process, so when it reaches the start of judging time for your hackathon, what will happen then is our site will send out email invitations to those judges and say, hey, it's time for you to do your judging. They will then see all of the projects that are being submitted for the hackathon, and they will be invited to score them from 1 to 5 stars for each of the criteria that you enter here on the Devpost site. So here we got the design, the idea, and the technical difficulty. You might have different criteria for your hackathon, but what we'll do is we'll ask them to score from 1 to 5 for each of those criteria. And then in the back end, you as hackathon managers will see a leaderboard of all the projects. So that may or may not cover all of your judging needs at your hackathon, but for many hackathons, it's a pretty helpful tool that enables you to really efficiently do the judging and creates a very simple and nice experience for the hackathon judges within there. I'm just going to leave this online here so we can move forward. And then obviously the final area here is how you set up prizes. You can obviously set the correct prize currency. If you need any different currency symbols in here, please just let us know. We'll happily add them for you. We just have the most commonly used ones defaulted in there. With prizes, obviously you can set normal prizes, but additionally as well, we have the concept here of opt-in prizes. So opt-in prizes are kind of sponsor prizes. So it's where, let's say we had Twilio sponsoring our hackathon and they were going to give out a prize for the best use of Twilio at the event. We would set that as a sponsor or opt-in prize on the site. What happens then is we take that information, and when hackers are submitting their project, we'll ask them, are you applying for any of the sponsor or opt-in prizes? And they'll be able to select them from a list. So it helps you see who has applied for which sponsor prize, makes the process very simple. You just enter it once, and then we'll build that in all the different areas for you. So that's the majority of how the hackathon site is set up. Again, it's a pretty simple process. You just need to know kind of the flow of your event in terms of the timing, know some of the major content areas, know who your sponsors are, what the prizes are, and you can then put all of this together. Again, I would encourage you to check out the to-dos and check out as well also kind of some of those features around adding community chat and then obviously the team building. One thing obviously to note on things like team building is making sure that you get your hackathon sites live in advance of the event. It's really helpful if the site is up a week or two before the hackathon is going to be taking place, because then you can get people to register on the site and take advantage of things like the participants tab to find teammates before the event kicks off. So that can be a really great and critical way of making sure that when the hackathon starts, people are kind of have people to work with, they've already connected with people. So the experience is kind of really welcoming them, right? Where the hackathon starts and they're able to really get to work, they already have interacted, know a few people. So we're just trying to make that process easier. If you get the sites live quicker, you can definitely do that. Okay, one thing that I did obviously just kind of want to review with everyone, and let me just check in and see if there's any questions here. No questions just yet, but let's have a look at the starting of the submissions. So let's assume that we've been taking part in the hackathon now, we're actually ready to create our project. So when it's time for people to submit your hackathon, all they need to do is just to start a submission. So with the start a submission, all you need to do here is give it a project name. So we're just going to call this the Hackcon test. See that it's a test project. Let's see if I'm still not a robot, which is great. And I have two options here. I can either just save this and leave it as a draft project, or I can go through and finish the submission process right now. If I save it and say that I'll finish later, then this turns into continue your submission. So it enables me to be able to create a little draft at the start of the hackathon so that you know I'm here, you have a sense of what I'm working on. And as a hackathon manager, you have access to that information so you can see how many projects are actually being worked on in your hackathon. Once I've worked on it a little bit, I might want to continue making my submission. When I click here, this gets me into the submission page you may be familiar with. Obviously, it carries across the project name. They then introduce the elevator pitch. You can see here, let's have a look at some of the services it's built with. Let's say it's built with Twilio and JavaScript. Whoa, I didn't mean to click that one. So yeah, we can make sure that we select all of those. And all these tags actually do is they just help with discovery of the projects. So when you tag a project that's being built with Twilio, not only does it go into the gallery of this and particular hackathon, it also then goes into the global gallery of all Twilio projects across all of Devpost. So you can see all of that. Here's another change that we've made recently, which is the invite your team link. The invite your team link gives you a link here that anyone who clicks it when they log into Devpost will be added to your project. So it's if you've got like a private chat going and one of you is creating the Devpost submission, you can just copy this link into the private chat and have everyone on your team actually just join the project. Of course, as well, now we allow multiple editors on each project. So anyone who clicks this link will be added to the project and they'll be given edit rights over the submission. So don't post it publicly, just use it around people that are your teammates. We here as well have our main content section for the project. You can see we support GitHub flavored Markdown, so you can see here exactly what you need to be able to do to like make a really nice looking project page, which of course is more important during a virtual hackathon, because this is really what a lot of what the judges are going to be relying on when they take part in it. So we're just going to put this in here. So this is a test. We also as well have our image gallery. Image gallery is where you can upload screenshots and other evidence around the project that you've built. If I have a repo or somewhere that I can check out the project, I'll obviously put it on here as well. And of course, this is where you put the demo video, a YouTube, Facebook video, Yoku, Vimeo link, all very simple to put here. And of course, if we had made that setting in the manager area, this field would be required. If I click continue, then it takes me to the second stage of the hackathon where I see the list of those opt-in prizes that we had set. And of course here as well, I see the optional question here as well, where I can select the country that I'm based in. I'm required to accept the rules of your hackathon and obviously the overall Devpost terms of service. And after clicking that, I'm able to complete the submission. Takes me back here. And of course, I can keep editing the project until the deadline of the hackathon. So make it really easy for people to start their project and then keep working on them until the actual hackathon is finished. And at that point, obviously, the projects are made final. So that's a quick overview of Devpost. So just to kind of give you a few highlights there of the different things we've mentioned and different. Let me stop sharing my screen here. Let's go on a bit of an infinite loop. So obviously, yeah, it's a new team building functionality, the kind of the to-dos, the community chat, trying to make all of that different things. So those are really important there. So we have a few minutes. Why don't we take some questions and kind of see what people are interested in. Charlotte, you had a question. Is there a way to restrict Devpost registrations based on who is admitted to the hackathon? So the answer here is kind of yes and no, right? So what we do have is we have the ability to moderate projects. So you can make sure that any project from people who aren't part of your hackathon can actually be moderated out of it. I can actually show you quickly how we do that. So let me pull that up here a second. Okay, cool. Looks like you can see it. So I just submitted a project. So if I go into Manage Hackathon, and then I click here on submissions, you can see the project that I've just submitted. If I'm not part of your hackathon, it's really simple. You can get rid of the project super easily. So if the gallery was on, you would now be seeing my project in the submissions gallery. Let's have a look here. Yes, here it is. So we see my Hackcon test project here in the submissions gallery. If I'm not part of your hackathon, then we get the visibility control. I can just set that to hidden. And then when the gallery refreshes, my project will be removed from the display. So that's one simple way of doing it. Now, the way that there are different ways, though, as well, that we tend to handle that problem. So the first thing is in the eligibility section, like making clear that you need to be accepted into this hackathon. You can also repeat that messaging in the starter kit email. That tends to deal with most of the issues. The reason that Devpost doesn't run in like a private mode is often the email addresses that people are signing up for your hackathon with, they might be actually different email addresses than they're using on their Devpost accounts, because a lot of people set up their Devpost accounts by like linking to their GitHub or something. So we might sometimes have a different email address for them. So definitely kind of, it's not restricted in that way, but usually making it clear in the eligibility section, including in the starter kit, and then having those moderation controls, we usually find that that's enough to deal with most of those issues. And obviously a lot of the hackathons on Devpost are kind of like invitation admittance only kind of hackathons. So pretty common, that tends to deal with most of the cases. Did that answer your question, Charlotte? Was that helpful? Awesome, that's great. Glad that was. Are there any other questions that anyone has? I'm interested actually in terms of the people watching. How many of you have you mostly used Devpost before, or are they kind of new hackers that haven't used us? Oh, actually, one thing that I did want to mention as well is how you set up Devpost sites, right? So one of the things to do, and I'll post the link there, is you want to go to post.devpost.com. That's where you can set up a hackathon if you haven't ever done that before. At the moment, what we're going to have you do is actually set the hackathons up as in-person hackathons. And if you set it up as an in-person hackathon, we'll convert it into a virtual hackathon for you. We're working on a new flow for that page that'll make it really easy to be like, oh, I'm a college hackathon organizer. I get to use the virtual product for free. So we always kind of help you and make sure we can triage you into the right place. When you go to our site, it'll say if you want to run a virtual hackathon, you have to pay us. But don't worry, you don't have to pay us. We'll give it to you for free. So we'll always make sure that you do that. Oh, cool. Cecilia, thank you so much for using us at SunHacks. That's really cool. I really appreciate that. I see that we have some people who have used it as hackers, but not as organizers. That's cool. It's a kind of different side to the product. So hope that this was useful to be able to see some of those elements. Usually what I recommend people to do if it's their first time using us as an organizer is go in and spend a little bit of time setting up the site. You can use that because you can preview Devpost sites before you publish them. You can really make sure that you can check that everything's set up nicely and looks correct. And if you have any questions while you're doing that, just ping us, ping our support team. We're always online. We're always super happy to help you. So we'll make sure that you do it. Oh, hey, I know Technica. Technica is a really cool event. Thank you so much for using us. That's really cool. And oh, cool. Awesome. We plan to use it for a hackathon at UF. That's really cool. Good luck with the hackathon, of course. So I'm happy to answer any more questions at this point. We can pause here. But if there's anything else that people would like to see on Devpost, or any questions you have about the company, about us, about the way that we work, hackathons, I'm always happy to answer all of these things. Oh, cool. That's great. I'm glad that this was helpful to you. And I definitely recommend it. As Cecilia said, did a test one to get familiar with the setup. I think that's a pretty good approach. We also, as well, I'd always encourage people check out our support articles. We have a really good support knowledge base with tons of stuff about table numbers and all the different functionality and a lot of best practice things. We run a lot of hackathons on the product ourselves as well, so we're always happy to share what we see and what's working well on that. So, and of course, my other encouragement would always be that, please, when you're using a product, if there's something that you're finding where you're this isn't quite work for us, this is a little annoying, or this is making our lives harder, or you have some kind of problem at the event that you think that Devpost might be helpful for, let us know. I mean, without your feedback, it's really, really difficult to evolve the product in the right way. So we're always super open to feedback. I think that everyone who's worked with us for a while knows that when you come to us with problems, where we try and be super helpful, and we're always super open about getting feedback and really want that to make sure that we build the best possible product to support you. That's what we're trying to do here. So we're really excited about that. Well, final question, because we have a few minutes left. Any good book recommendations? I always like to ask that because it's such an interesting community. So what should I be reading? I'm still in New York City, so we're still kind of pretty, The Martian. I haven't read the book, but I watched the film. And I like the film, but maybe I should check out the book. Is the book, the book's always better than the film, right? That's a silly question. So thanks for that recommendation. Oh, it's so much better. Oh, that's great. The Man Who Melted was very interesting to read. Okay, cool. I'm going to check that. I'm currently reading The Free Body Problem. That's really cool. It must have been made into a book, but I'm currently reading that and really enjoying that. So that's going to be the rest of my day, because I think it's going to be a storm here in New York. So Cool. Well, I think we're going to pause at this point. I just wanted to say again, like, thank you all so much for coming here and letting me show you Devpost. Our little product, we're really happy that you use it and that you get value from it. And yeah, please, I'll be in the Discord and active in the Discord for the rest of Hackcon. So please come say hi in the Devpost at Hackcon channel. I'm always happy to answer your questions, to get your feedback. Yeah, all of those. And thank you all so much for the book recommendations. Really appreciate the time. And yeah, have a good rest of your Hackcon. Thank you.